Welcome to another Booking Blunders. Myself and Jake, aka Bomber. So we're going to be talking about the mishandledness of Goldberg and Lesnar as a whole, overall, their entire booking and whatnot. Now, I know you feel a little differently than I do on certain parts of this feud. My argument, as a whole, is that absolutely nobody got over except for Goldberg. And then he left because he was never intended to be there for longer than a certain amount of time. So, like, I felt like they sacrificed a lot of people where they could have booked this better and had them look better as a whole. Like, my biggest argument is Owens. I feel like that was easily the worst part of Goldberg's return, which I actually don't think was terrible as a whole. I think it's a one note, though. You're going to remember one thing about Goldberg's return. Only one thing. What do you think that is?
What do I think it is?
Yeah, that one thing that people remember in 10 years from now.
This is gonna sound weird, but I mean, his match with Owens, it was
really no. I know. I think the opposite.
And I say it in a bad way, by the way. I don't. The one thing I remember is they just fucking squashed Owens, and everybody knew it was gonna fucking happen, and they did it anyway. And that's what I remember from it, and I remember how it's gonna negatively affect him. Or how it did negatively affect him.
I feel like in 10 years, the only thing everybody is going to remember about this Goldberg run is him beating Brock that fast. Like that's because it's quite the moment. If you go back and watch it, it's really interesting because when I saw it live, I was confused and I laughed because I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But if you watch it now, I do kind of get goosebumps with it. Like it's quite an amazing thing to watch. But then, like one arm has goosebumps and the other arm has anger and sweat.
I remember you were like fucking livid when that first happened. You were going off from what I remember on Twitter or whatnot. I guess the review. I think you did the pay-per-view review. You were not on board at all. But like, I remember you were also blowing up the chat, like the Jobber Radio chat that we had too. And I was in there. Like a lot of people were not digging it, but for some reason I liked it. I liked it a lot actually.
It's a good moment, but the problem is I don't think it's a good enough moment to warrant the fact that every bit that of time that they spent making Brock this invincible monster, they jobbed him out to, a 50-year-old dude.
Yes.
That wasn't going to stick around. If Goldberg's my thing was if he was going to stick around for the next 4 to 5 years, and now I'm not asking him to be full-time by any means. I'm just saying have him do the Undertaker schedule. Have him pop up for SummerSlam, have him pop up for Mania, and that's it. That's fine. I would have settled. But like, he's probably done. He might come back for like one more Mania.
Yeah,
but
I can see that.
I mean, he's bitched and moaned online that the main factor, he came back for his kid because his kid wanted to see him wrestle, and that he didn't like being in the shape they wanted him to be in because apparently he was a lot skinnier before his return, but they wanted him to bulk up, so he did. So he was miserable. So he's probably.
But he looked fucking great, though. He looked fucking great.
He did look really good, but apparently, like, health-wise, obviously a 50-year-old man shouldn't be looking like that all the time. But, like, so, yeah, the Survivor Series thing hurt Brock immensely. And I feel like Brock has come back a little bit, but not because of Goldberg. He came back just because Brock's a goddamn beast.
And the thing about the whole, like, how many seconds? Like 20 or how long was that fucking match? How long was it?
It was like under a minute or maybe a minute and a half or something like that. But like a lot of it was Goldberg just standing around and like looking at the camera.
Well, the thing about that is I didn't really have a problem with it because yes, Brock was billed to be this unstoppable monster lately, but man, it was Goldberg. For me, the feeling was just if anybody's going to like just fucking shut down Brock, it's going to be Goldberg. Just like the same way if anybody's going to beat Taker, it's going to be Brock. Now, yes, I was pissed about that. But that's for me like historical reasons. That was I saw both sides of Brock beating Undertaker, but this one I can see Goldberg is still going to be known as one of the top 10, I think, professional wrestlers, not so as far as work rate and all that. I'm talking about just mega wrestlers. Yeah. And him to come in with Brock and just destroy him like that, I seen it as like a reality. Like that shit is done. Like that can be done. Because he's a legend.
That's not really what I'm like super disagreeing with. Like if you heard the behind the scenes reason they did that, that wasn't the original intention. They were going to have a full blown match, but Goldberg hurt his arm when he was working out. So it wasn't hurt to the point where he couldn't wrestle, but it was definitely a concern because they said, if he did further the injury then they wouldn't have him for their plans down the road. So they were like, so Lesnar actually was one that came up with, he's like, we'll just have him squash me then. So he doesn't care. Lesnar's there for the money. Yeah, Lesnar suggested it. So Lesnar was like, a minute and a half and I get paid a couple $1 million? Yeah, sure, that sounds great. Let's do it. I don't give a fuck. So that's not my thing. The booking blunder here, even though I don't really agree with Survivor Series, I know they didn't have any other choice. That was pretty much the best possible outcome for the situation that had set up. My thing is the Owens thing. Like,
yes,
they put him in there with the guy who is universally known as one of the safest and easiest and best professional wrestlers on the planet. A lot of people don't know that, but there's so many guys that when they're asked, who is your favorite to wrestle, and they say it's Kevin Owens. Or Kevin Steen for those that know him on the indie scene and stuff. But like Cesaro has said it. I think Rollins has talked about it before. But a lot of them say he's just awesome to work with because he's so fucking good. So they have Goldberg in there with one of the safest workers. All they had to do was have him just do some underhanded bullshit to keep the match going for 10 minutes. But they wanted to keep this like aura that that Goldberg is unstoppable. But like, man, they shit on him in the process, and he never got his rematch.
I know, they're like the whole Universal title ever since fucking Owens got it. Even with the run Owens got was shitty. Everything they've done with the Universal title so far has been shit. And dude, with Jericho coming out, I know they were trying to further along their story with that, but I was one of the very few that was in the camp that, you know what, I think Owens may retain the title. Like, he may not lose the title. Because
I thought that there was a chance they were going to go with Jericho and Owens as the main event, which I would have preferred. But you know, I mean, when you look at it though, that Mania match with Lesnar and Goldberg was one of the best matches on the card.
Yes, it was.
The reason being was it wasn't a good match. It only lasted 5 minutes, but it was good because it woke the crowd up and it was different. Everything else kind of at that point, because it was such a long goddamn show. What was it, 6 hours, 7 hours?
It literally was. Yep.
It woke everybody up. So, I mean, like, and they didn't screw anything up. It was just quick, precise. It was like a car wreck. Like, they just fucking crashed into a wall. So it was fun, but nobody's going to remember that. Like, again, everybody in this whole run are going to remember, like you said, I guess, like, Owens getting squashed and Goldberg beating Brock and squashing him. So, like, my argument is, again, nobody came out looking good that's going to help the company for the next 10 years.
I think another blunder could be for this would be the Royal Rumble, how they came in. The end of the Royal Rumble was completely stacked, and it was really heavily favored on this whole Brock and Goldberg thing. And Brock came in, boom. Or Goldberg came in, boom, throws Brock out immediately. Like, I know they were all still going for the quick stuff, but I think they ruined the Royal Rumble overall as far as having it loaded at the end based on trying to get everything in at the end. They could have easily done that at any other point during the Rumble.
Well, I mean, I kind of liked it, by the way. I liked it because it kept them apart. So it just made Brock continued getting frustrated that Goldberg had his number. But I remember I pitched on Jobber Radio, for those that don't remember it. I was like, they would never do it, but how awesome would it have been? Have Bayley come out as number 1, have Sasha come out as number 2, and then number 3 is Brock Lesnar.
That would be amazing.
Have Lesnar fucking destroy the girls with F5s. Like, he'll offer for them to leave because he's not a total piece of shit. But like, have Bayley and Sasha, whatever they're thinking, like stand the ground, like God no, and he like stacks them up and fucks them up, and then like the next one out, number 4 is Goldberg.
Yep.
And just have him throw down for like the 2 minutes, and then throw out another heavy hitter that can kind of break it up, and one of them gets eliminated. But like, there are ways to make that Rumble obviously better, but that's another booking blunder because that was a terrible Rumble.
Yeah,
it was real bad.
Yeah, that's the main thing. That's another thing that I did remember from this whole feud is the Rumble stuff. I mean, I'm really big on Rumbles, obviously, as a lot of other people are. I like to see people in there for a long period of time. And it seemed like everything was just hot-shotted right there at the end, and I just wasn't big on it. But
the best part of that whole Rumble was Goldberg and Taker facing off for like a minute.
Yes, it was.
And, yeah, but their actual interaction was terrible. But that little like
just looking at each other,
was interesting. Yeah, very interesting. But yeah, booking blunder. Well, again, I'm curious what you guys think of it though in the comments. Like, how would you have booked it? Do you think that they booked it perfectly? Do you think what are the changes? I really think the only huge thing that should have been fixed was Owens and Goldberg should have had an actual match. I mean, like, I just there was no excuse, and it was so obvious. Like that was one of those matches where I wouldn't show that to a friend because that just shows that it's fake as hell. We already know it's fake, but that is like the extreme example of, oh yeah, this is totally fake. Just the stalling, the bullshit involved, it wasn't good. And it was like, oh, God. And now we have to deal with Brock having the belt for the rest of the year, doing nothing with it and barely showing up. So, ugh.
I do want to say before we get out of here that overall, the whole Lesnar and Goldberg thing, I think that this is a perfect example of don't discredit the writing team all the time, because early on a lot of people were like shitting all over everything, but by the time it got to WrestleMania, everybody was still into the match, and at the end of it, everybody fucking loved it. And yes, the whole thing afterwards is gonna suck with, like you said, Brock not defending the title, but I think overall I enjoyed the booking, the whole overall aspect. In the beginning, yeah, I hated the Owens shit and all that, and they could have easily had the same outcome without squashing Owens, I believe. Easily, I think.
Yeah,
sure.
no, I agree. Like, they could have had
Yeah.
a moment where, like, I'm saying, like, Owens hits several low blows on Brock, like he's
Sure.
using weapon, or not Brock,
Yeah,
Goldberg.
yeah.
Like using weapons, doing all kinds of stuff before the match starts.
Mm-hmm.
And then as the match starts, it looks like Owens is gonna be able to maybe get the advantage on Goldberg, and then you hit Jericho's music. Like, there were things they could have done, but watching Kevin Owens walk around the ring for 15 minutes was not very entertaining. It's not very good. Yeah. But yeah, Booking Blunders. I want to ask the crowd, though, too, the fans, are there any booking situations? Doesn't matter what time period, whatever you want it to be. Let us know. Is there's any kind of situation that happened in a booking that you did not like, you'd like to see us cover? Let us know in the comments down below. And yeah, thank you for watching. Give us your overall thoughts on this episode, and we'll see everybody on the next one.